Casey O'Neill, along with Norwich Free Academy head football coach Jemal Davis, here on the Wildcats field. Casey and the Sports Doctors continuing ECC football pregame spectacular. And, Coach, we were just talking that you're in your 8th season now as the head football coach here, which makes you a veteran of the ECC. What's different now from when you first started? What have you learned over those years?
Well, when I started, we had some icons, still part of the conference in terms of number of years coaching, and so when you have that as a young coach, you look for those guys for some guidance in terms of how do you manage a game, how do you motivate players. So I was constantly on the phone, especially with Brian Crudden, when I became the head coach, about what do I need to do to give our guys prepared, because I have and still do have tremendous respect for him. And then obviously when Mignault was about to step down at the time, I was still in conversation with him because I was up at Woodstock when he was still coaching. And those guys really have set the bar for us here in the ECC in terms of the number of wins as a head coach. And then as a player, with Bunicor being an icon as well. So I was very fortunate as a player and as a coach to really have something to strive for and continue to strive for today.
Now you're the guy that they call, and it's funny you mentioned Jim Bunicor. He's, we've been around so long now that we've had time for his son to come and go as a head coach. Last year, difficult season, very dynamic player, Juwan Johnson, got hurt, caused some flux in the quarterback position, and you guys had to adapt using a bunch of different bodies. Going into this year, how do you feel about the quarterback position specifically and overall the numbers and health of the program?
Well, I think that's a great question. After week 3, things changed dramatically for our program. We had a number of injuries beyond that of Juwan, but Juwan, in terms of what he was doing, was definitely a significant impact, being a quarterback and being a guy on the defense that could do so much. At that time, we were scrambling. We had a young guy in Shay McManaway and Tyler Briggs, who are just coming up from freshman football, and they were trying to figure out, what their role was going to be. And I don't think at that time, going into week 4, they felt their role was going to be a starter. What that has done for us at this point is allow us to now have some experience. We were able to, utilize that time to go back and evaluate where our guys were and what we need to do in the offseason to prepare them. And the guy that really showed that he's ready to take on that role at quarterback is Shay McManaway. And that allowed us to be more flexible with Juwan. So we moved Juwan out to receiver, and we feel he's going to be a threat, obviously, out there with his speed. He's going to be a threat for us to be able to run the ball with him, similar to what we did a few years ago with Marcus Outlaw. So I think we're in a better situation because of what we experienced last year with our skill guys. And then we've got some other guys that we ended up bringing into the fold at the end, like Isaiah Price, who was primarily a defensive player, and Caleb Parker. So I'm pleased skill-wise where we are, and a lot of that has to do to our injuries.
When I think about Norwich Free Academy, you guys have always been in a difficult spot, being one of the biggest schools, the biggest school in the conference. And so you did a very gutsy thing over the past few years, which is stepping out of conference to play some of the more dynamic teams in the state. And boy, what a schedule you have put together this year. What do you feel the benefits have been, and is it something that you're happy that you're still able to do, scheduling the likes of a Xavier and a Darien and schools like that?
Well, we have a tremendous amount of respect for those programs. Those programs are storied programs. They've won numerous championships and recent championships as well. And so when you have an opportunity to play those things, you can learn something a lot about your program, but you're also going to learn a lot from them and try to bring that into your program, into your fold as well. So what we're looking to do is that we want our kids, when they come here to NFA, we've got 8 sending towns, which we're very fortunate to have. But we want those guys to think bigger and beyond here. Okay, we want to be able to say we want to go and play for a state championship. And to play for a state championship, you've got to be able to have played high caliber teams. That schedule is if not the strongest, is pretty darn close, especially for out of conference play. So for those people saying, you know, we're crazy in doing it, you know, in the long run, it's really going to pay off. If we can continue to have that in the long run, especially for, you know, incoming freshmen to see who we're going to play regularly, they're going to be inspired to that. Our guys now, I mean, over the years since 2010 when we got to the players, our expectations have been to win a state championship. And as you mentioned, we've picked up some teams throughout, like Glastonbury over the years, which has allowed us to continue to strive to be one of the top teams in the state. And if you're going to be the top team in the state, you got to play the top team. So, you know, it might be considered gutsy on our part or foolish on our part, but in the long run, that's what you got to do. You know, if we are able to be successful in a schedule like this, our guys will have confidence going into the playoffs because they played the best teams in the state.
All right, my last question before I let you get back to practice. Take us mid-season. And if I were to go around and ask all of the other ECC coaches, and I say, hey, you know, one thing about that NFA team this year is that they are blank, what would you want those coaches to say?
Tough. I mean, that's been our whole focus this year. We're talking about toughness in the areas of mental toughness, okay, physical toughness, and emotional toughness. So that's what we went to Camp Niantic for 5 nights, and that was our emphasis. And our emphasis will be that throughout the year. So, you know, what we mean by that, obviously physical toughness, we want our guys to be able to come out here to apply what they've taken from the weight room to the field, okay, and be physically tough, to be able to, you know, be out there and play a grueling game, a competitive game, a physical game. And then obviously we want us to be mentally tough. So we're able to go out there and withstand some adversity, okay, and handle that. And also not to get lackadaisical because we're doing well in a particular game, continue to play at a high level. And then finally, it's just that emotional toughness in which when things get tough and that mental piece starts, that emotionally you're strong enough to be able to say, you know what, let me calm down, stay focused, stay to the game plan, believe in what my coaches are telling me to do. If we're able to do those things, we're gonna win a lot more games than we're gonna lose. So hopefully by the end of the season, that's how we're gonna be defined.
Well, toughness will certainly help combat what is a very tough schedule. We wish you the best of luck this year. We look forward to covering you. This is NFA head coach Jemal Davis. Looking forward to the upcoming 2016 season here at NFA.
Thank you.